Hey YouTube, this is the Art of Prepping. Been getting questions about communication, wondering about different options, especially if the grid went down, cell tower stopped working, and if you don't have an actual satellite phone, what do you do? So there's different options. Let's go ahead and go to the most common, which would be like these little FRS, GMRS radios that you can pick up. They're not that much, but they're advertised sometimes as these 28 to 36 mile range types of radios. And that's not true at all. Um, I mean, honestly, these things are lucky to get a half a mile to a mile on a good day. And, it's mainly because they're low wattage. They're usually around a half a watt or so. And the antennas are very inefficient. And unfortunately, they're all fixed to the radio, so you can't upgrade the antenna as you can with some of the other radios here. So for very short range communication, in my opinion, it should probably be within a quarter of a mile or less. So just basically around your neighborhood and around your house, these would be an okay option. But just remember, though, other people can still listen in. So there really isn't any privacy. Yes, there's privacy codes on here. They make it harder for someone to actually find and decode your message, but they still could do it. So this is an option. It has the ability to recharge through a USB port there. It has a flashlight, a lot of them do, and other features as well that may be desirable. But once again, there's limitations with those. But nonetheless, they're still pretty much something I would recommend for very short range communications, especially maybe for like a neighborhood watch or something like that, and you're on a budget. Now, there's other kind of radios like CB radios, which stands for Citizen Band. It's been around for many decades. I'm not so sure if I would recommend that because we're just talking about handheld stuff now. I don't think I'd recommend that. There's a lot of problems inherent with that radio. Yes, you would probably get a little bit more range potentially than maybe an FRS, GMRS radio. But there's a lot of people that sometimes in some areas do a lot of things to disturb transmissions, or there's a lot of blatant FCC violations in terms of people broadcasting illegally in large output, large wattage. And so I don't know. I think it's kind of a misused frequency band in a lot of areas. Now, don't get me wrong, truck drivers use it, and sometimes they use it correctly, and so it's not a bad resource. But for the average person that is not a truck driver, I don't think so. Now, in terms of even smaller, almost like these mini or micro radios, this is kind of like what they call amateur radio, or also known as ham radio, little dual band radio. And so you can actually use it as a scanner, like a place scanner, or to transmit. It's very low wattage, but if you're near, or relatively speaking, a cell tower, you can listen to some transmissions, at least in the past. But now they've encrypted a lot of the cell phone transmissions from analog to digital, and you really can't do that. But when I first got this many years ago, I could actually listen to cell phone conversations. Not that I really did that, very much at all. It was just something that I found myself, able to do. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. And so now it's pretty much all encoded digitally. So it doesn't really work anymore in that sense. But if you're close to a amateur radio tower, like a relay tower, which is basically like a repeater on the tower that allows your transmission from a small little low wattage radio to transmit further, then something like this would work. And so you could use that to monitor local public safety channels as well, and to listen to the NOAA weather band, among many other things. And so what about the best bang for the buck? Now, these Baofeng, this is the UVR5, and this is the 997S. And so these both I would recommend. Made by Baofeng once again, and you can get these for like anywhere from $20 to $30 typically on Amazon. And on this one, I upgraded the antenna, and I can get about a little over 20-mile range on this particular setup. It has a little bit higher output, obviously, than these over here. But, depending on, the source of energy, the input, you can get somewhere between 4 to 5 watt output. And so you definitely want to go ahead and upgrade the antenna. This is a stock antenna. I put this back on, but I do have a higher quality one for this as well. And so these are dual band radios. You do need a license to transmit on these, but in an emergency situation, that won't matter. And so these are really made for amateur radio operators, once again, that are licensed, also known as ham radio operators. But you can use this as a place scanner. And these also have the ability to receive and transmit on these frequencies here on these handhelds. So these can pick up and transmit on the FRS and GMRS frequencies. So these are very versatile. Once again, these are the biggest bang for the buck right now. It's amazing, the quality. And so this is one of the newest offerings or versions. And so I just recently got this about less than a year ago. This one is several years old, like 3 or 4 possibly. And it does really well. I mean, it has a charging dock that it comes with. You can get different accessories, different battery packs. This is a rechargeable one. You can get different sizes of rechargeable batteries. I took off the belt clip so I can fit into a holster system. But this one, I have the belt clip on. And it has a light on these. Both of them have LED lights. And just a lot of other features on these. For example, it has the capability also to receive FM broadcast. They can't pick up AM, but they can do a lot of other ones like public safety, amateur radio bands, for example. But they can transmit, and they're really made to transmit on the 2 meter and 440 bands, but they can transmit on other ones, some business bands and even public safety bands. And once again, the FRS, GMRS bands. They also can pick up the NOAA weather bands. And so it's kind of like if you're not in the know, you wouldn't know for the very small amount of money, $20 to $30 typically, at least at the time when I bought these, that you get so much for the money. I mean, it's just overwhelmingly the best value. There's just no doubt about it. This goes back to when I was in my old college years. This was kind of what was out there. I was just pulling this out for fun, but it still works. The old Radio Shack model HTX 202. The VHF FM transceiver. It also receives. This is just for the 2 meter band for amateur radio operators. And of course, you would need a license to transmit on it, but you can listen. In an emergency, you can transmit on any frequency, at least in the United States. And so it has this crazy big battery pack. And I upgraded a long time ago the antenna. This antenna comes out, it's like 5 feet long. It's so crazy. But believe it or not, it still works so good that I programmed it, and I can actually hit, basically some towers in my area that are many miles away. So these are just some ideas. There's a lot of other different types of radios and frequency bands that you can monitor. There's handheld receivers that even have shortwave. There's all kinds of walkie-talkie style, but typically they require some type of license or some type of something. And so just be aware of that. But typically the FCC isn't like, trying to track everybody down. It's not like that really. So you just wanted to see, like which radios are going to actually give you range. And I think these Baofengs, there's different models and types. There's always coming out with something new. So there could be something even better than these now. But that's going to probably be the best bang for the buck. And hopefully that explains or gives you a little bit of maybe an idea of where to go next. Once again, the UV5R or the 997-S are options that I would recommend. And around the house, just a little Motorola or a Uniden or whatever, Midland walkie-talkies will be just fine. And so coupled with these, you definitely want to have like a tabletop, AM and FM, and definitely some shortwave capability radios that you can monitor the area, and as well as maybe a nice full-size, full-featured place scanner, so you can actually really keep up with what's going on in your local area in conjunction with these, and have it all programmed, and just be familiar with how it all works. Every radio has its different quirks. And so if you have any questions, feel free to to message me at theartofprepping@hotmail.com or leave a comment in the comment section. Thanks for subscribing, hitting the like button, for sharing this video, and for hitting the thumbs up. It really does help a lot, the channel. And so this is just a basic primer on just some basic options. I have a lot more sophisticated radios than this, but when we talk about people who are just starting into prepping, and that's what pretty much the message that I get lately is, how do I get into having an alternative means of communication? Well, these are some of them. But maybe later on we'll talk about more advanced radios, mobile radios for your vehicle, in terms of two-way radios and receiving, and maybe even home-based systems. So you guys take care. Thanks again for your support, and I'll catch you real soon.